audience. Glad you decided to join us again. Today's guest is the talented and business entrepreneur, Mr. Terrence Walker. How you doing, Terrence?
I'm doing real good.
Good. This fall, I'm featuring men and women authors. This is the season to, cozy up by a fireplace with your favorite book, warm blanket or recliner or whatever you sit in or lay in to read. And he is the author of this wonderful book. It's very deep, you guys. It's called Double Standards, Is America Racist? Terrence, I believe you wrote books before?
Yes, I have two other books. One is called The Message, and the other one is called What Women Want in the Bedroom.
Oh, wow. See, I haven't read that one. I have to get that book. Okay. That's great. Now, I interviewed Terrence about, 2011 on WKK-TV in Wyoming. And he wrote the book, The Message. And that was a great book, Terrence, by the way.
Thanks.
And that book was in was it the county jail?
Yeah,
County?
it was in the county jail. It's on Amazon, in prisons.
Okay. It's a good read, especially for people that are taking the wrong path or find themselves in some kind of situation and peer pressure, try to keep you out of trouble. That was a good book. And now we have The Double Standard. And I have an owie, so sorry about the Band-Aid. So, Terrence, can you tell us a little bit about the book and what inspired you to write this?
Well, on January 6th, like most of the people in America saw the insurrection and what went down that day. Thugs trying to take over the Capitol building, trying to do harm to the people that we elected to represent us. And they basically was able to take over the building. And so I got to thinking, I said, there's no way that Black Lives Matters would have done that they would have been able to take over the Capitol building. Had they tried to do that, there would have been dead bodies all over the building. They would have been beat down and shot down like hunted animals. So I knew then I had to write a book concerning that and show the difference, how we are treated and how others are treated when we do exactly the same thing.
That's true. So I was reading, you made reference to the insurrection, just multiple incidents when we have peaceful rallies, how they can get out of hand, and it's just people being vocal. And this is America, and we have a right to freedom of speech peacefully without doing harm to others.
Yes. And so what I did was I showed basically every aspect of life on the streets, in the courts, how if we do certain things, this is what happens to us, and if white folks do the same exact thing, they get different privileges than we do. So I decided to go back years and show exactly what was happening. And the main message that I wanted to get out to the people was to show that it's very important to vote. We can't just say that one party, they're both evil, so it's not going to make a change in life, so ain't no sense in me voting. You got one party, if you don't mind me expanding on some things that have happened over the years, you have one party, which is the Democratic Party, that has given us unemployment, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps if you need it. And you have another party that don't want you to have Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps. And then you have one party right now that's trying to destroy democracy. So that's what I wanted to show throughout the book. Show the people that you have a clear advantage of who's doing what for you. So if you were disadvantaged, indigent, poor, middle class, why would you want to vote for a party that don't want you to have those things if you get in the jam? If you lose your job, you want to have unemployment. You might need food stamps, but you have one party that wants you to have those things if that happens to you, and have another party that doesn't want you to have it. So I wanted to show throughout my book the differences. Also, I wanted to go back and talk about in the late 80s when they had the war on drugs. Cocaine was a problem in the black neighborhood, but it also was a problem in the white neighborhood. So what they did to distinguish between the two, they took the powder and the crack cocaine. So they said the crack cocaine was more addictive. So we're going to give more time if you get busted with crack cocaine. So you could have, let's say, 2 rocks. Get caught with 2 rocks of crack cocaine, but you could get caught with about 100 grams of powder. For those 2 rocks of crack cocaine, you would do more time in prison than you would if you had 100 grams of powder. But see, they considered the crack cocaine the black man high, and the powder cocaine the white man high. So again, they were trying to protect their people from going to the penitentiary, but sending black and brown-skinned people to the penitentiary for just a little amount of drugs. So I wanted to show that this has been going on for years, what they've been doing to us. So again, going back to the insurrection, had there been Black Lives Matter, there would have been more than 3 or 4 people that got killed. You would have had most of the people that tried to attack the Capitol, they would have been shot down or beat down.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that we had to even encounter that, even see it on TV. It was kind of sad because you think of America as the land of the free. It's supposed to be. And different rules for different classes of people when people do the same things. One of the things that I find interesting that you emphasize in your book is your voting rights. And people, please vote. If you don't vote, nothing, your representatives, your local councilmen and senators and city officials, they're supposed to be for you. And every community is different, right? Like we both need different things.
Right.
And times are changing. Like how it was 2 years ago is totally different from what it is now.
And we as black folks, we still have the same struggles that we had back in the 60s. We're still marching, we're still protesting, we're still kneeling, we're still praying. We're still asking for our voting rights. They're trying to take away our voting rights. They're trying to make it harder in some states for people to vote. Why? Why are you trying to make it harder? We went over to Afghanistan to free those people and allow them to vote for their president, but we're making it harder in the United States of America for people to vote. Yeah. What's wrong with you being able to send in a ballot? What's wrong with you being able to vote early? Some people may not be able to make it on November the 8th. But I'll tell you one thing, I tell people all the time, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm going door to door, and I'm handing out flyers, and I'm telling people that it's very important to vote. And I had a young lady call me on the phone, and she was asking me about was I going to vote. And I told her, I said, ma'am, I'm not even going to waste your time. You don't even have to ask me a bunch of questions. I said, I already put my ballot in. And I told her, I said, if I had to crawl to the poll to cast my vote, that's what I would do. So that's how important it is to me. I don't want to go back in time. I don't want my children and my grandchildren to go through what our people did in the 50s and 60s, voting and trying to vote and marching for your rights and getting beat, dog sick on you, shot down. I don't want us to go through that again. So no. I do everything I can to get the vote out and definitely cast my own vote.
That's good. How long ago did you write your book? Or did this just come out, or?
I wrote it last November.
Okay. Around voting time?
Once I seen it, I said, I got to get this message out. Once I saw the insurrection, I said, I got to write and I got to just tell and show the difference there's no way that black folks would have been treated the same way. And you got politicians saying, oh, it was nothing but a picnic. They did nothing wrong. Those people went in there to kill our vice president and our majority leader of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, I said, if they didn't care nothing about doing harm to them, what do you think they care about you? People that look like me. If they tried to destroy democracy by killing their own members, they don't care nothing about me, a person that looks like you.
No.
And this is why I tell them it's very important that you get out and vote. And then now we had a struggle, the women's struggle, which there's always been a struggle for women too. I mean, now they're trying to force the women to have the baby. What man should be able to tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her own body? That's her choice. That's her doctor choice. No politician should have the right to tell her what she can do with her body. And then once you have the baby, they don't want to have the baby out. They don't want you to have paid leave. This is the Republican Party. I'm just coming out and being straight with it. The Republican Party, once you have that child, they don't want the child to have food stamps. They don't want the mother to have paid leave off work so she can take care of the baby, but they're forcing you to have the baby. And I want the people to understand you have a choice. You have a party that's saying that it's okay for a rapist to do harm to a 10, 11-year-old child, and she's forced to have that baby. Do the people understand how sick that is?
And all the ramifications behind it, psychological. I'm not going to express my views on that, but I will say this. As a woman, our temple, we have a right to our own temple. And meaning our bodies. We need to vote. I know I volunteered a while back, just calling people on the phone, vote. Whatever party you want to vote for, that's fine, but vote. Make the change, because so many times you hear people complaining, but they're the same people that don't go down to the polls. They don't vote. You say, did you vote? Well, no, I didn't think it would make a difference. That's ludicrous to me, because every vote counts. Every vote. You vote for people in charge of your city, your state, local governments, and it's based upon, and it should be based upon, the community needs. So if you don't vote, don't complain.
That's right.
I tell people, oh, you didn't vote? Oh, well. What did you think was going to happen? But those who took the time, and you have to make time. Don't make excuses. Make time to go vote. And research your elected officials. Are they on what you need? Just don't vote for them because of ads or what you hear that's negative, because you're going to hear a lot of negative things about every party. But are they true? So do your, fact checking and get out and vote, people, because it is so important. Nothing's going to change. And like you said, we go fight wars and stuff for other countries and their rights. But are we protecting our own rights? So that's a good point. And it was interesting. Like when you read the book, you're going to keep reading. And then I said, I have to get up and go to work in the morning, so I have to come back and read some chapters. But it compels you to turn the page. I don't want to tell you about all the chapters because he is an author. And just go purchase the book, because I'm telling you, it's a good read. And like I said, it's the season to curl up with a book and get some knowledge. Get some knowledge and entertain your brain and give your mind some food for thought.
Most definitely.
So are you doing any book signings anywhere, or where can we find Mr. Terrence A. Walker?
Well, I haven't been doing any book signings because I've been having so many other things I've been keeping busy doing. But I try to get the message out there as far as where they can purchase it from, or contact me at terrence66@ymail.com, and I can get a copy to you, or you can purchase it on Amazon.
Oh, that's good. So.
But I really believe that people need to read. I don't want people to think that I'm a racist person, nothing like that. I'm not. I'm just showing the difference between what happens to a black person in this situation and what happens to a white person in this situation. And most of the stuff I put in the books is facts. You can Google it, you can research it, it's facts. And I also ask questions, why would you vote for this party if they're not in your best interest, if they're not fitting your needs? And people always ask me, well, nobody's doing anything for me, but yes, they are. Before the recession, people were talking about the low unemployment. Well, unemployment is low right now. So now people's excuse is, well, inflation. Food is high, gas is high.
It is.
But that's true. But you have one party that has done something about that, and that's the Democratic Party. They just passed a bill to deal with inflation. They passed a bill to deal with infrastructure. They're trying to get other bills passed, but they need you to get out and vote. So there is a difference. And I can tell you this, and it's a fact. You go back and you look at the last 2 or 3 Republican presidents, only thing they did was pass bills to cut taxes for the rich. That's all. Nothing for the middle class, nothing for the poor people, the indigent people. Just pass taxes for the rich. They don't need a tax cut. They're doing quite well. They send us to war. Those are the only things they do. And then they tell you all the Democrats want is a handout.
I think a lot of people, whether you're Republican or Democrat, a lot of people just want to earn their own money. But there are some lazy slackers now.
That's
but
true.
We're not talking about those people. Nowadays, people have to work harder. They have to work longer hours. Not to just take extravagant vacations, but just to survive. And families have to really come together and make a lot of sacrificing. And so like we said, get out there and vote, because November is coming up. No excuses, go vote. And there were a couple other things I wanted to ask you before we get off.
But as you mentioned this earlier, you said you have no excuse if you don't go vote. And people might think this is far-fetched, but I'm just gonna be real. And mark my word, you might be able to replay this, and hopefully it doesn't come to fruition, but you have a problem with how things are going, right? Let's say the Republicans take back the House, the Senate, and then presidency. And then you get out and you start marching, raising heck, because you're mad about how things is going, and then they're gonna say, hey, we're gonna set this curfew at 7 o'clock, and if you're on the streets after 7 o'clock, get them off the streets, any means necessary. And that's where I believe we're going. People can find this by Googling the 45th president. He said when he held the Bible upside down and he dispersed the crowd, he told his Secretary of State, I believe it was, can we just shoot him? He was talking about black folks. They said, no, we can't do that, Mr. President. Or can we just shoot him in the leg? So if you take power again, next time it's going to get them off the streets at any means necessary. So that's why I'm trying to tell the people that it's very important to get out and vote. We don't want to go back. We don't want to go through the same struggles that we had before the 60s. So vote, vote, vote.
go. And if your local elected officials are not serving your community, then they don't. And what I mean by serving, meeting the needs of the community. Every community is different, and every year needs change. And if they're not fulfilling what they said they were going to do, then why do you let them come back in office? Doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. If they're not doing what they promised, I don't care what party it is. If they didn't deliver, it's just like a job, your performance. You get your yearly evaluation and you go in the office and your boss sits you down and say, well, Mr. Terrence, you did an awesome job, so we're gonna give you a raise. Or they say, well, based upon your performance, your services are no longer needed. And we have to make people be accountable for what they say, make it happen. And
I even talk about that in the book too, as far as I'm not going to name any names, but for years, I stay on the third ward side of the city. So for years, the third ward has been getting less money than the first ward and the second ward. And so you have to ask the people in charge or commissioners that's over the third ward, why? Why all these years have we been getting less money? And now, just now, after 30-some years, the third ward is finally getting their share of the money compared to the first and second ward. But it took this long for our commissioners to realize that you're not getting treated equal as the first and second ward. So these are things that we must keep in mind, and we must remember who's doing what for our side of town when it comes to vote. Don't just vote for the person, like you say, just because they're black. That don't mean you have to vote for them. What are they doing to enrich, to help you grow?
Yeah, and like I said, doesn't matter what party. Just don't vote Republican because you've been voting Republican all your life. If you're voting Republican and those officials are not meeting the expectations that they said and that you expect, don't vote for them again. I mean, it's time for new people to come in and make a real change. If they're not living up, I don't care if they're Democrat, the Democrat Party, if they're not living up to the expectations and meeting the needs of your community, then why should you vote for them again just
That's
because
right.
you've been Democrat all your life? It's about people need to be accountable for their communities, and in order for that economy to thrive and grow, we have to get into it. We have to dissect, we have to make things happen. We have to help small businesses. There are a lot of entrepreneurs, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Now, I went to Ottawa Hills, and what school did you go to?
You forgot? I went to Ottawa Hills
did too? Okay, because I was like, I thought you went to Ottawa, and I didn't want to say, I hope he doesn't say Creston, but yeah. We both,
OHHS, yes.
We went to Ottawa Hills, and I'm going to say the best school in the city. I don't care, but.
Yes, and
no, I'm just kidding.
I played sports. I was pretty good, and even though I didn't live up to my potential in football, I was a pretty good football player. Pretty good basketball player, good long distance runner, actually one of the best long distance runner in the city in the 11th grade, and the best long distance runner at Ottawa in the 11th grade.
Wow.
And in the 12th grade, I really don't know what happened. I really didn't have nobody to push me. I didn't have nobody to say, Terrence, why ain't you playing sports this year? So I didn't play no sports in the 12th grade. I was on the basketball team in the 11th grade, ran track 11th grade. I know I would have started on the basketball team in the 12th grade. I would have probably might have been all state in track in the 12th grade, but I didn't participate. And I can only remember one person coming up to me, and that was the security guard, Mac, and he was like, what, Walker, you too cool to play sports now? So that's another reason why I always try to reach out to the youth and talk to them and tell them to reach their potential, make sure that they finish high school, get a skill, and further their education if they can, because I missed that opportunity. And people ask me all the time, if you could go back, what would you go back and do? And I would go back to the 12th grade and I would make sure I played sports. I wouldn't let no coach or nothing else interfere with that. I would have played all three sports and, you know, showed my potential. So people really don't know how good of an athlete I was, just the people in my neighborhood. But and the people that was at the school.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the city, I believe I could have made a name for myself, but a lot of people don't know. I didn't even play sports in the 12th grade.
Wow.
And I missed that opportunity. So that's why for like 7 years, I coached youth football to give back and try to make a difference in those kids' life. And every time I get the opportunity now, I'll talk to them and try to tell them, you know, make sure, you know, you finish school, try to tell them, stay out the street, be around the right crowd of people. When I have opportunity to talk to community activists, I tell them, if y'all want to slow down the violence, because you never stop it, but if you want to slow down the violence, you need to go into the schools. You need to go into the schools and get to those children before they reach the age of 16, when their mind is kind of made up. And just tell them what happens when you get out into the streets and you put them guns in your hands and drugs in your hands, where you're heading to. And then all they have to look at is, where's your father or where's your uncle at? How long he's been in there? Because what they don't really understand, what I always try to tell them is this: 92% of the time, when you get convicted, or you're found guilty, or you plead guilty, whatever that sentence is, 92% of the time, that's the sentence you're going to do. So if the judge give you 23 years, you're going to do that 23 years. And these young kids don't understand that right now. They be thinking that, oh,
they're going to get out in a couple years.
Yeah, I'm not going to get caught. I'm not going to get caught. And if I do get caught and go, I'm going to get out early. You're going to do that time.
Yeah,
and can you imagine 17-year-old children going to prison for 23 years? And after you do that 23 years, you done did most of your life in the penitentiary.
A lot of lives have become ruined. Like, by the time they get out, 20, 40 years later,
the world didn't change.
It's been changed, and they've changed because they're being conditioned to an environment that didn't help them grow. The only thing it did was kind of, it's a different world in there, you know.
And if you don't, and just imagine you go in there at 17 years old, your mind is not fully developed.
You're not mature enough to make right decisions.
You probably was maybe drinking or smoking weed, and so you weren't thinking right, and then you go in there, and to survive, you usually join a gang. And so here it is, you got
You're doing crime inside
of the prison.
A facility.
And so when you get out, it's the same old cycle, because
that's all you know.
That's all you know.
Now, in your book, The Message, I believe you were going out talking to the youth and trying to explain about the judicial system and, like you just said, how you get more time than most people. And that was good on your behalf because you have been through some things and you want to share your experiences. And if you don't talk to these kids, sometimes they just need somebody to talk to.
Yeah, I was growing up, never in trouble as a juvenile. Of course, you know, you do little things, but no juvenile record, never been arrested for doing anything. Then as a man, you know, doing different jobs and stuff like that, and then I wind up, a couple friends of mine came to me, and I wind up selling drugs because it was fast money. And I'm like, hey, you're making more money. You can make more money in a couple hours selling drugs than you can 40 hours at work. So even though I was a person that wasn't predisposed to being into that type of environment, it just like that, it made me want to do it. And
they went there quick. You saw the quick, fast money.
Quick, fast money, and you know.
And they make the life seem so glamorous. Like
Yes.
all you have to do is do this, and then you can get this money.
Right.
You can dress. You can buy a
Right.
car, but they don't realize how deep and how much trouble they glamorize the money. But it's a lot that goes behind it that they don't tell you, and then by the time they find out, it's too late. They're in the cycle, and 3 things can occur: jail, death, and then you leave
Addiction.
in addiction. Those 3 things are bound to happen eventually. So it's going to happen. Like one of those 3 things are going to happen.
Because what people don't understand is there's always somebody out there that's jealous of you. Mm-hmm. If you were in that type of environment and you're selling drugs, somebody's going to be jealous of you because they see you driving a nice car, dressing nice, might have a few women or whatever, but so they're going to be jealous of you. And then you're going to have people that's buying the drugs from you that may get caught up. Somebody's going to get caught up.
Yeah.
And
It's not going to end well.
it's not going to end well because they're going to tell your name. So it's not too much that goes on in any city when you're doing something illegal that the police don't get wind of. Because there's always going to be somebody that's going to tell, hey, he's doing this. And then it's all about whether or not they're able to catch you. But so
And 9 times out of 10, you eventually get caught.
You eventually get
9
caught.
times out of 10. Are you coaching football now, or what are you doing with the youth?
I'm not coaching football now. I was a hard-nosed coach, so I would get on them, I would yell at them. And now that's part of the problem with society today. They don't want you to holler. They definitely don't want you to cuss at the children you're coaching.
Because coaching could be very passionate. I mean,
Yes.
when you're into sports, like I ran track at Ottawa and ran long distance, so you have to be very disciplined. And, you know, at the time I could do relays because I was fast. I could do relays, hurdles, but it wasn't my time. They wanted the seniors to get the scholarship, so I kind of understood that. I just wanted an opportunity to do a few other things other than, because not too many people can run the mile.
That's right. And that's what I ran.
A lot of them couldn't make it, so I felt like, well, gee, only a few people can run it. You know, I want to do something else, but anyway.
So I had stopped coaching. That was the reason, because they didn't want you to get on the children anymore. And it goes back to one of the coaches at another school. He was a teacher up at Ottawa, and I ran into him one day, and he told me, he said, Walt, he said, these kids is way different than y'all. He said, when y'all used to do something wrong, if y'all did something wrong, we told your parent, they would get on your butt. He said, now we tell these parents that their child is acting up, and they come up here fussing at us. And see, that's the difference. You know how your child is at home. You know if your child is bad or not.
They're not a completely different person.
Right.
Or if they're locked in their room and they never open it, like open the door and see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's
So, you know, our parents used to get with us. You do something wrong, I had many of days, believe me, where I got that switch. Mm-hmm. And now you might get
authorities called on you.
Yeah, you might get authorities called on you. You know, you whooped the child. So times have changed.
Times have changed. So people, to wrap it up, go out and vote, and definitely go get this book. It's a good read, and the message is also good too. If you know any children that are going in the wrong direction, that book will explain a lot of things that they should consider. And what is your next venture? Like, what do you do here? We don't know what you do for a living, so share.
I'm in transportation. I don't want to say.
With transportation,
right.
you don't have to say what company you work for, because you want to keep your business private, but you're in transportation.
Somebody might not like what I said on this show, but yeah, I'm in the transportation business.
And this, let me say this, sorry to interrupt, we're not here to offend anyone or any party. Just want to make that clear.
That's right. Okay. So that's what I do for a living.
Okay.
Got a few other things. And of course, I like writing books. I'm always getting calls from prisoners and that's having problems.
Oh, okay, you're trying to help them out.
And they call me and ask me for advice. People on the street, I'm always there, give a helping hand if I can.
That's good. Well, thank you for being one of those people that take time out of your schedule, because so often we're so busy, but there are people that just need somebody to talk to, or somebody other than a family member that they can, reach out to and just tell them what it is. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here.
And all of Terrence's social media and where you can purchase his books and information will be on the end of the show. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.